Is a man less of a man if he can't change a flat tire?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Is a woman less of a woman if she can't cook a meal from scratch?
Anyways, how to know if your sign company is trustworthy is to see how they ship your signs.
Hi there. I'm Cody. Pronouns EM, airs, or Z's, or really any neo pronouns that aren't Z's or hers.
Anyways, if you're looking for a sign making company, then you've come to the right place.
Dear cis people, this is your vaguely cordial reminder that not one single drop of your business is in the trans community.
We don't care. Check out our new mirror floor sign made in high quality stainless steel.
My husband is gay. He's a gay man. I'm a straight woman. We are married.
Why? Anyways, design team is a very important part for a sign company.
It's June 2025. I'm going to start off this video by somewhat doing an update on the topic of the ostriches in British Columbia, Canada. Now, I did do a video short about this, talking about how, for example, the ostriches were wrongfully accused and wrongfully convicted, and tied that into with how human beings are wrongfully accused and wrongfully convicted all the time. And this was before I really delved into this topic. And I did another video talking about how unhinged supporters of this topic are when it came to military drones shooting an ostrich. And I highlighted, for example, how these people cannot accept that there's other explanations other than, for example, a military drone or anything else, and how delusional these people are who support this topic. But since then, more information has been presented to me, and I started to look into this, and this apparently is a very deep topic. And some of the information that's come out really are how these ostriches are being used as lab rats, being injected with who knows what, with the idea under the guise of coming up with some sort of vax to, I don't know, stop something else. And this story really sounds like how zombie movies, Hollywood zombie movies, start off, where there's experiments being done to cure something, real or not, and it's out of control. And how we see with these ostriches, people going to this farm, being exposed to whatever these birds have been injected with, and carrying on and so forth. And once you start digging through all this stuff, there does appear to be something more sinister as a descriptive going on. Now, there are people who, for some reason, have been really dedicated to dive into this topic and start to follow paper trails and money trails, and even who's who, with, for example, with regards to connections. And it's just really, truly mind-blowing. Now, if it wasn't for people being dedicated to these types of topics, then a lot of this information would never be made known, obviously. And one particular individual has spent a lot of time and went in depth to expose this particular topic. Now, initially, I never really cared about the topic, and I still really don't. And I only addressed it because people brought it to my attention. But really what this whole thing was about, what I said as a descriptive, this is just another distraction, a psyop, for example. And people are getting scammed. People are donating to a cause that they don't fully understand what's going on and the potential of a catastrophe from it. So really, this is just one of countless of distractions in this world today. And then we hear people talking about, for example, and before I get into this, I have nothing against Donald Trump or any other persons involved with the politics of this next part I'm going to talk about, or nor do I have anything against Donald Trump as a person, because everything is just scripted. Now, initially, I guess President Trump and Elon Musk, who, again, there have been people spend a lot of time diving into this topic with Elon Musk and exposing the fraud that he is, and really he's not an intelligent person at all. And I've used this in overlays a while back from these people exposing Elon Musk. But anyway, I digress. But we had this kind of alliance with President Trump and Elon Musk. Now we see a distraction where it seems like they've turned on each other. Again, it's all scripted. It's all part of a distraction to get people talking and divided and everything else. At one point, everyone was saying yes to get rid of wasted money on government services that are not needed. However, I did highlight in a overlay not too long ago how some of these cutbacks, people losing their jobs in the government, are actually having a very harmful effect. For example, people not being able to go to the government saying, hey, I just got ripped off by someone or whatever. And these people who had these jobs are saying, well, we can't investigate because we're no longer employed doing that. So a lot of these cutbacks, people haven't really taken the time to see what impact there is. Now, I'm not saying everything that was cut out was good, but not everything that was cut out was bad. And that's my point. But this now conflict between President Trump and Elon Musk is just another distraction. We also see in Canada, for example, the distraction of the Western provinces wanting to separate or become independent or whatever it is that they want to do. This is another scripted distraction, keeping people divided, keeping people from really paying attention to anything else that's going on in the world. And it's amazing how people are buying into all these different things that are going on. We have conflicts all around the world, wars. We have groups of people being annihilated, and this is all under the guise of religion. And I've touched up on all this in videos as well, and with overlays as well. So we have all these distractions happening continuously, non-stop. And what's interesting when you look at this, the ostriches, and even, for example, Alberta wanting to separate, how the convoy people are all tied into this. And I called out the convoy right from the get-go as it being, for example, as a descriptive, a psyop, a distraction. Now, I mentioned over many years ago how I researched for a couple of years people who call themselves targeted individuals, or it's also called gang-stalking for some reason. And a lot of these people are, again, distracting other people, making claims. And my whole conclusion with even interviewing these people over a decade ago, I'm just going to be blunt. They're delusional. And I noticed a lot of people, they would video record other people who they thought were gang stalking them. In reality, they became that which they were consumed about, feared. And trying to explain this to these people nicely, they just didn't grasp that. So these are people who are also polluting the information pool with nonsense. Now, I'm just going to stop here for a moment. There may have been 1% of the people that I researched and talked to that, can you say that's a delusion? No. Can you say it was really happening? Not really, because there's really no evidence. But I just thought I'd mention that. But the majority of the people believed that they were being targeted. And some of the reasons why is, or at least was, I don't know, really out there, I'll just say. And now over the years, kind of segueing into another subtopic here, I've had a lot of people approach me over the years claiming to be whistleblowers and whatnot. And I've said, okay, if you have something, let's have a discussion through, say, a chat and see what you have. And I have to say, pretty much most people I've talked to will say they really have nothing. Maybe at best they weren't happy with an outcome of a case or something, but that's it. And they see that injustice, whether it be real or perceived, as corruption. And they have evidence. And every time I've asked people, okay, let's see your evidence, almost always, they never had any evidence of anything. Sometimes people would show something and I'd go through their material thinking like okay, there's nothing here. And I try to be very polite with people because, you know, obviously these people are really attached to this and consumed by it. You don't want to trigger them, get them upset or whatever. We just kind of have to like, okay, that's nice, and carry on. And again, these are the types of people who pollute the information pool as a distraction. People claiming to be targeted individuals, or another term is TIs. They're polluting the information pool again, making legitimate people appear crazy. And most people will default to like, well, yeah, that's crazy, especially when people cannot relate to someone's actual story that's true. That in itself gets people to say, well, that's crazy. But when they start looking into other people and hearing some of the nonsense that's out there, well, yeah. So we have all these distractions happening simultaneously, and it's very unfortunate because a lot of these people, whether it be about the ostriches, the so-called convoy, and I say so-called because the full name of it is the Convoy of Freedom, so-called Convoy of Freedom, so-called convoy, and other people are getting donations, a lot of money, like these people, so-called heroes of the convoy, millions of dollars sent to them. And now people are sending money to save these ostriches, not knowing what's really going on with that. So we see a negative impact on society where people are donating to nonsense And eventually, many of these people will realize they've been scammed. They've been duped. And so when somebody comes along, for example, who actually has faced injustice or actually is a whistleblower with a plethora of independent evidence and so forth, people will more likely not want to help them. And people right now are being so distracted with everything that they're not helping real people in real need. And we have so much going on in this world with distractions and everything else. A lot of people are getting confused and a lot of people are shutting down. And this is another negative side effect, is people mentally are shutting down because they just don't know what to trust or who to trust anymore. I've talked about online celebrities, or what is also called influencers, online influencers. And these people are where they're at with, for example, popularity, view counts, and making money off of all this because they're allowed to. They're placed there. Sometimes they may not even realize it. And remember, the alternative media or positions is the new mainstream media and positions. But it's all part of the script, and I've talked about learn the script and the importance of that in another video. So I really just want to bring awareness, attention to the distractions and the nonsense that's going on out there, and to be aware of it all. And as I've said, even in my videos, and I did a video short about this, talking about myself, and there's a lot of people just like me you've never heard of. So I'm no one special here. I'm just probably the one with the biggest mouth that just hasn't shut up yet. Will I ever? I don't know. So as I've said in even a video short, I don't want people just to believe my story. I want people to know my story. And that is important. Not just for myself, but the other people just like me you've never heard of. But there's a lot of people like me who have tried and are still doing what they can and are being ignored by society overall. And that's just the way it is. That's life. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share.
100% of people in the experiment would say, A. The truth is right in front of their face, and they would go with the group because the group did it. The group is telling them what to choose. If you think of the way that social media manipulates our brain, it falsifies tribal agreement, and it makes us say A. Right. So we're willing to ignore everything that we see because we're seeing the tribe say that something else is happening. Okay. So it'll override our brain. Our brains are not capable of overcoming this technology. We don't have a firewall. And technology has outpaced our brain's ability to adapt to it. If I can get you to think that most of your tribal members agree to X, then most people, like 90% of people, will say, okay, X is true.
Listen to this and write it down if you can't remember it. You're never going to outgrow warfare. You simply must learn to fight. I hear people saying to me, oh, when is it going to get easier? When you die.